everybody, and welcome back. Yes, it is finally the day that I am working on my Camaro. Now, my Camaro, since posting this, has been on the lift the last 3 months, and it is finally finished. So you can see the entire rear end is completely redone. I powder coated my rear cradle, which I have never seen before on any 5th gen Camaro. Upgraded Willwood brakes. I have the KW suspension. I added solid cradle mount bushings in this car, and I added the offset differential bushings. I have the QA1 carbon fiber one-piece drive shaft in it. I have the GFORCE Performance Renegade axles, brand new on the car. I've been running these axles on the car for the last 6 years. I've never once had a problem with all my horsepower and performance changes on this car. They've held up perfectly. I used my AMSOIL Severe Gear on my differential and refilled that fluid. So that is all fresh in my differential, might as well since I'm underneath there. In this video, I just wanted to show you guys the build process, and let's get to ripping apart this entire rear end. I got my rear cradle back from powder coating, and this is the most beautiful piece I've ever seen in my life. I switched powder coating companies, and this one locally was incredible. They did the most amazing job I've ever seen in my life, and I can't believe this is going up in my Camaro. So I had to take absolutely everything off this car. My alignment is gonna be super messed up, but now's the time to try to get it back on. All right, I'm going down. So obviously the whole car is finished, and I figured I would just walk you guys around the whole rear end and show you all the work I put into it. So let's start on the outside edge. I have the Aero 4 big brake kit from Willwood, and yes, this is a custom powder coat color, but if you guys do go with this kit, they have a ton of different colors to choose from. This is like a floating rotor style, so you don't have that little screw that holds it onto the hub. Obviously, I got brand new axles from GFORCE. Look at that fresh axle nut in there. And I have brand new hubs that I just put on the car since the stock hubs were on it. So these are never before used. These beautiful axles in there, pristine. And then you could also tell that my entire cradle is powder coated in Jamaican teal. Obviously you have to pull apart all the bushings and every single bolt to do this. So that took a while, and I was 2 weeks in powder coating on top of everything else and the whole car being apart. So I took the time and cleaned the entire chassis underneath so it looks like a brand new car. And I actually love the completed look of the Hendrick solid cradle mount bushings. Everyone says these should be a bushings, one of the first modifications that you do first, but I obviously waited till the very end because I didn't want to install them for the longest time. But they are super clean looking actually. It makes the rear end look super nice compared to the stock ones. I have the Detroit Speed lower control arms. These have been in my car for the last couple years. I have a full video on installing all these. And one of my favorite parts of my entire car, my KW Club Sport 2s. These treat me so well, and changing the ride height is so easy with these. Then my lower control arms lead into my Detroit Speed end links and into my Detroit Speed sway bar. The trailing arms from Detroit Speed as well here. I think this is one of the few pieces that are still stock in my car, but didn't feel like buying those. It's pretty hard to tell, but I did put in the differential offset bushings in my differential. So now my differential sits at a completely different angle, and this in turn made my drive shaft sit a lot higher up in the car. So I had to pull back my e-brake lines back in there since they did start rubbing. Blue powder coating just looks absolutely unreal. And obviously it's the same on both sides with my stock exhaust. I think this gold was a nice touch because the stock heat shield did not fit above my drive shaft anymore, and my drive shaft was actually hitting it in the first place was just not good, and it doesn't fit because of the angle change with my differential offset bushings. So I removed that, and so I use the DEI Reflecti-Gold, which can withstand over 600 degrees Fahrenheit of temperature. So that'll keep my gas cool and do the same job as the stock heat shield, which is the goal. Looks really nice. It's like jewelry underneath here. I did end up using some Dominator racing grease from Amsoil and greased up these bushings. So you can see a little bit more is oozing out because I put a lot in there. I always try to wipe off the excess. I have a little tool from Amsoil, and I fill it up with a silver nipple and just squeeze it in there. It's great maintenance to do every once in a while, every time you're underneath your car. I honestly can't even begin to describe how much work this was and how heavy every single component on this rear end is. But I've been pushing these bushings off for 2 years. Like, I've had these parts in my toolbox for 2 years and have not been wanting to do the work because I think bushings are one of the worst things to do on a car. It's just, the result really isn't there as much. But I mean, I shouldn't have any drivability issues now. My rear end's gonna be much stiffer in a good way. And yes, sometimes this does create a little bit more vibrations than factory, but overall this is a race car. I have a 417 instead of a stock engine. There's no going back at a certain point. But anyways, I will have all the links in the description underneath this video. If you guys are interested in any of the parts of this rear end, feel free to ask me any questions. And I hope you all have an amazing day or night, whatever time it is, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.